Cutty spots are graffiti spots located in hard to reach and out of the way places. And ever since I've started doing these IRL Graff videos, I've brought you guys to Cutty spots all over Asheville. And it's my goal to continue to do so, not just here in Asheville, but all throughout the country and all throughout the world. And if you're trying to do something like what you see behind me, a Cutty spot is the optimal location to do it. Sure, you can hit something like this on a billboard, you can do it on the side of the freeway, and people do it every single day, even in the most congested locations. But if you're looking to do your thing, express yourself, be committed to your art, but you don't want to go to jail and you don't want to get into a situation with a hero, Cutty spots are where you need to be. And some of you guys might wonder how I'm able to track down so many Cutty spots in a place I'm not from and haven't spent a lot of time in. And I can tell you guys it's made a lot easier by already being a Cutty fool. And in this video, I'm gonna tell you guys about how I became a Cutty fool and tell you guys how you can become a Cutty fool too, if that's what you desire. So let's get into it. As I talked about in the intro, I've hit a gang of Cutty spots since I started doing these IRL videos. But I gotta tell you guys, this area that I'm currently in might be the cuttiest location I've been to film a video. But some of you guys might still be wondering, what do I mean when I talk about the cuts and Cutty locations? And in being a Cutty fool, I can definitely explain what makes a Cutty spot Cutty and what makes this area I'm in Cutty in particular. But instead of doing all that, how about I show you guys what this area looks like and show you why it's so damn Cutty. And to a lot of people, when they think about North Carolina, when they conceptualize North Carolina or the South in their mind, they probably think of areas like this. They probably envision absolutely no people, all kinds of grass, all kinds of mountains, all kinds of hills, and nothing else going on. But North Carolina also has big cities like Charlotte and Raleigh, so you get a little bit of everything in North Carolina, and you get a little bit of everything in Asheville too. And this very Cutty location that I'm in right now isn't all that far from civilization. There's a main road just right around the corner, there's a Walmart, there's shopping centers all around this area, and you can buy anything, legal or illegal, within a couple of minutes of here. And in my experience, for a lot of the dopest Cutty spots, they're not all that removed from society. But to find a spot like this, you gotta be looking for it in the first place. And like I said, it's a lot easier to find these things if you're Cutty already. And personally, you can say I've been Cutty since I was a little kid, but I might even tell you I was Cutty even before I was born. And I say that because my parents, the people that created me, were Cutty fools themselves. Like I've talked about before, my father was from the city of Belfast, Northern Ireland, and he came of age during the Troubles. He was a rebel soldier, he was a member of the Irish Republican Army, and he fought against pretty much everybody that was a formation in that war. This includes fighting against the British Army, fighting against the Protestant paramilitaries, fighting against the police, which were pretty much the same as number 2, and fighting against other Catholics. And unlike American soldiers that get deployed and stay on a base in some other country, my dad's war was in his backyard and he lived in the war zone. My mom, on the other hand, does not come from this kind of background. She comes from a middle-class family from the peninsula. But even if they were a middle-class family from the peninsula, they were still Cutty too. My grandfather used to work at the Tanforan racetrack, and some of the people that he was cool with were involved in organized crime. My grandmother took this a step further because at one point, she dated one of the most notorious mobsters in United States history. So while my mom didn't come from this kind of lifestyle, this lifestyle was accepted, and to a degree, it was celebrated. And by the time that my mom met my father, she was enrolled in a master's program at UC Berkeley. And also around the same time, my mom was involved in very heavy left-wing politics, especially when it came to Irish liberation. And despite being a graduate student and living in America, my mom still found a way to end up on the radar of Ireland's intelligence services. And she found this out on her honeymoon after getting married to my father when they went down to the Republic of Ireland and they got arrested and they got interrogated and they let my mom know that she was on their radar and they've been watching her even prior to that day. And I say all this to say, all this was going on a few years before I was born, and all this matured by the time I was born. So I already had a pretty great disposition towards the cuttier side of life, and this would only increase as I got older. As I've talked about multiple times on this channel, my childhood was pretty messed up. And when a kid is super young, 5, 6, 7 years old, there's only so many environments they can find themselves in. And for me, these environments were home, school, and the streets. All three were very dangerous. However, unfortunately, despite all the bull going on in the streets of San Francisco and in my neighborhood in particular in the 80s and 90s, I gotta tell you guys, the most dangerous environment for me was home. I grew up knowing that there was domestic violence going on, and one day my father looked like he was about to hurt my mom, and I had to punch this dude in the face a few times and slam a door in his face. I don't know anybody else who was punching killers in the face at 8 years old, but I was, and this gave me a lot of incentive to get the hell out of the house and wander those streets and find somewhere safe. And guess what type of places I found a lot of safety in? And if you guessed Cutty spots, you guessed right. I grew up in Bernal Heights in San Francisco, and Bernal Heights has cuts everywhere. And anytime I was going anywhere, especially in my neighborhood, but really anywhere in the city, I would have these little cuts in mind and plan my route accordingly to be close to them. There's also something to be said about growing up in a big city as a kid and just going out there and exploring. And I thought places like this were cool, and me and my friends would just try to break into places like this, hop fences, climb on roofs, climb over trees, and just try to explore these cuts, cutty locations. And to be honest with you guys, when I first started riding, cutty locations and cutty spots weren't on my radar whatsoever. Not having access to spray paint really meant I wasn't gonna hit up in most of those spots anyway, and I was incredibly focused on hitting buses. But my interest in cutty locations and bombing in the cuts grew when I met another cutty fool. And the cutty fool that I ended up meeting was the Homeboy K. The Homeboy K was incredibly cutty, and I don't know if he's still a very cutty fool now, but I gotta guess, all that cuttiness that my boy had in his system didn't dissipate. And I can say that the Homeboy K was a master of cutty arcane knowledge. He could tell you about all kinds of very cutty stuff right off the top of his head as soon as we met. And it wasn't an uncommon thing for me to step to this fool in like 9th grade, and he'd ask me, hey, did you hear about what Bernard Goetz did? Did you ever hear about Richard Speck? Did you ever hear about this government getting overthrown, or this substance that does X, Y, and Z to you? I don't know how my boy knew all this stuff, but I have to guess he was inclined towards the cutty side of life as well. And I gotta figure the same way I ended up being cutty is how he ended up being cutty, being around cutty people and being influenced by the realities we grew up with. And in meeting the Homeboy K and getting really cool with him, it really just solidified my own cutty mindset. And it was like the final building block of being a cutty fool was finally put in place, and my cuttiness was complete. And when I first started really hitting cutty spots, going underneath freeways, going underneath overpasses, and finding these little places in the middle of our city where nobody was and we could do our thing, it was with the Homeboy K. Around the same time, we started coming up on paint more and more regularly so we could actually get busy and get down in these spots. And there's nothing like hitting something up in the spur of the moment. Just you see an opportunity and you get down and you come back to this location a few months later and that tag's still looking at you. And it makes you wonder what other kind of places are out there? What other places can I go to and find where I'm gonna get this same kind of feeling of like almost being reintroduced to my own work? And while we still remained bus hoppers, we were still hitting buses every day, and this remained our primary focus. We made a lot of time, we made a lot of effort, and did a lot of excursions to these type of spots. And my favorite cutty spot that I used to go to was out at the Lincoln Golf Course, right on the side of a hill. Nobody ever saw you there. They could smell what you were burning in the air, and they wouldn't be able to see you because damn near you were at sea level and they're high above you on a cliff. And for anybody that's out there looking to hit some cutty spots themselves, that wants to be out there in these kind of spots where they're gonna run and not be bothered, I'd recommend looking for something similar. You want something that's not all that far from civilization. You want something that has an obscured view. You want something, frankly, where you could be doing your thing in broad daylight and fools could smell it, but not tell it's you and not be able to see you. Most people are just gonna go about their business. They might even think that they're tripping. They might even think, damn, why does it smell like spray paint? And there's nobody here. And for anybody that wants to become a little cuttier themselves, take a step away from the rat race, take a step away from consumerism. This is what I recommend. And very much you might find that there's things you don't want to be associated with, you want to remove yourself from, and you want to isolate yourself from. And congratulations, you just completed the first step to becoming a cutty fool. And if you're already looking through the corners of your mind, if you're already looking through the corners of history, finding a corner right off the street, finding a corner, finding an abandoned area isn't as hard. And ultimately, what you need to find is an area where you find your greatest comfort, where you find your peace and your understanding with little to nothing around you. And if you hit something up in this spot, you just hit up in a cutty spot. And I can tell you, usually where you find one cutty spot, you're gonna find a bunch of other ones around the way. And after you've been able to identify a cutty spot in one kind of area, you're gonna be able to identify the kind of areas that cutty spots exist in too. And more, you have to understand that you have to operate outside of your comfort zone. And while you could be in a cutty spot that has absolutely nobody around, you might find yourself with a lot of anxiety. You might feel like you're overwhelmed. You might feel like there's stuff out there watching you and you can't see it. You have to find a way to operate with this anxiety and hit something dope. And to be honest, after a couple of years of this, after a couple of years of exploration, finding all the spots around your way, hitting other spots from spots that you found, and traveling deeper and deeper out into the cuts, it's gonna become something like a second nature thing. And this second nature cuttiness does not go away. And to prove this point, let's go to a spot right now that I found when I found this one a couple of weeks ago. And this isn't even the craziest spot around here, but it's the most accessible. And it's within sight of the spot that we were just in. And like I said, that is the value ultimately of cutty spots, is that if you find one, you'll find another. And you'll find an even better cutty spot sometimes that just allows you a little bit more safety, allows you a little bit more time, a little less headache and heartache about maybe having to leave a place behind, maybe not even finishing what you're doing because you got a boogie. Spot like this, it's not like that. And at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about you pursuing your passion. It's about you doing something that you love and laying it on the line for it. But I can say though, cultivating some cuttiness is gonna allow you to do so for longer and longer periods of time. At the end of the day, you can always just get busted. I could get busted doing this right now. All I'm doing is filming, but it's not necessarily the most welcome place for me to be. And sometimes absolutely nothing is gonna stop you from meeting your day of destiny with the cops, with the judge, with the court system. It's just gonna go that way. If you stay in this life long enough, it probably will go that way. And being hot, doing all kinds of hot stuff, doing stuff for the thrill, for the rush, is gonna have you caught up like that eventually. But in being a cutty type of fool, maybe you just delay that inevitable reality. And at the end of the day, all of us can ever ask for is just more time with our families, more time with the people we love, and more time with the things we love. And when it comes to this thing that we love called graffiti, being cutty is gonna give you the most time of all.